There are people in the world who make news in such a way that the further you get in time from when they were in the news, the less you believe they really existed. That they aren't some composite of crazy things that you remember from other stories. Here, I have graphed it for you. For some people in the news, the more time goes by, the less the person seems like real life. Jonathan Keith Idema, Jack Idema, is one such person in the news, a person you wished you'd never ever hear from again. It is hard to believe he actually existed, but he did, and apparently he still does. Jack Idema is back in the news. More on how in just a moment. But first, the patches that make up this particular quilt of Did That Really Happen? Mr. Idema first turned up in the news as a self-styled American soldier of fortune in Afghanistan. He went to Afghanistan in 2002, and by that time he had already been convicted of wire fraud in the U.S. He'd already built up criminal records in 3 states, and he had already tried unsuccessfully to sue Steven Spielberg and his production company for a movie that Jack Idema claimed was secretly about him. But then he went to Afghanistan, where Jack Idema soon started to claim that he was advising the Northern Alliance and also rounding up Taliban and al-Qaeda fighters with his private anti-bad guy squad that he named Task Force Sabre 7. What happened to Task Force Sabre 6 and Task Force Sabre 5? We do not know. A mystery. But Mr. Idema's most infamous move was still to come. He opened up his own jail in his house in Kabul. He would arrest people and then imprison them in his jail house. Once he even convinced U.S. authorities to accept one of his prisoners. That prisoner was later released. If what Jack Idema was doing sounds a lot like kidnapping, the Afghan government agrees with you. They arrested Jack Idema in the summer of 2005. He was put on trial, convicted, and sentenced to a 10-year prison term on charges of illegally entering the country and, running a private torture prison in his house. A private prison in his house where he tortured people. Footage from that prison aired not only on news shows covering the story 5 years ago, but also in the last 2 consecutive al-Qaeda propaganda videos released on the anniversary of September 11th. As in, look what Americans do. Join the war against America. Thanks, Jack. Mr. Idema was pardoned by Afghan President Hamid Karzai after serving 2 years of his 10-year prison sentence. The soldier of misfortune left Afghanistan and reportedly returned to the U.S., where we like our private prisons run by giant corporations, thank you very much, not by individuals working from home. So we thought and we hoped that that was the last we'd hear from Jack Idema, the creep who, as time went on, you really couldn't believe was a real guy who really did that stuff. So long, Jack. We were wrong. Noah Schachtman over at the indispensable Danger Room blog calls our attention to the fact that Jack Idema has resurfaced, apparently holed up in a house in Mexico. According to local news reports, local police in Mexico want very much pleased to talk to him about accusations that he held people in his house against their will. There are other more lascivious accusations, too, none of which we can verify, but needless to say, Google alert set, and we will keep you posted as this story develops and as we hope it fades away again forever.